Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. You know, the temperature today is pretty hot and it's humid and everything, but there's a little bit of a breeze today. So it kind of makes it feel a little bit better. But trust me, if you're out in the sun, and I've been mowing for, well, most of the morning, it's hot, but the breeze is certainly enjoyable. Today I'm not going to talk about all the hogwash. I don't know how to put it any nicer, that's going on in the world today. The stuff in the news, the stuff on social media, the stuff that's really happening, the conspiracies, the psyops, the wars, the, corruption. It's a lot, right? And it's happening all the time. And it's okay to talk about it, but it's probably not okay to solely focus on it, because we as preppers and homesteaders and people trying to be self-sufficient and prepare ourselves for bad times, we have to focus on other things too. And today I want to focus on just dealing with emergencies, disasters. And before you tune me out and say, oh goodness, just listen, hear me out. And this is... This video is based on some recent experiences. You know, most of you know that I live in a fairly small rural area. I mean, widespread, but small as in people. You know, little small, not even a town. It's just a small community in the nearby. And well, this past weekend was a really hard weekend for our community. There was a couple of very tragic things that happened. I'm not going to go into details. I can't, because I was there and I can't, but just trust me, they were really tragic. Any community, big or small, would see these as tragic events. And a small, close-knit community where most people know each other and a lot of people are related to each other, it hits hard, really hard. And it's once again reminded me that as people that are trying to live on their own, not be tethered to a system, to be able to handle things on their own, to kind of survive and thrive, especially when things fall apart, this is something that gets missed a lot. You know, I've been in what I would guess preparedness most of my life, especially my adult life. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of people. In person and online. I've gone to many different meetings. I've done a lot of different stuff, right? In regards to prepping. And the vast majority of thought is usually two things. You need to produce a lot of food, and you need to be prepared to defend yourself against bad people. Both of those are good things. Both of those are things that we need to do. But a lot of times what gets missed is, what do you do when just bad things happen in general? Emergencies, tragedies, disasters. Because here's the thing, those things happen all the time. They already do. I mean, I could sit here and just rattle off just in the past few weeks of things in a small rural community that I have personally had to, handle and deal with and be part of, whether it be vehicle accidents and illnesses and, food poisonings and farm accidents and emergency childbirths and all kinds of stuff. These things happen on a regular basis. And then if we expand further beyond where I live, over the past few weeks, there's been parts of this country that's dealt with flooding, where people and animals and homes and buildings have washed away. If you go further out in time, there's tornadoes, there's ice storms, there's hurricanes, there's earthquakes and all kinds of stuff. And here's the thing, folks, these things happen on a regular basis already. They just happen. And it's not going to matter whether the government exists or not. It's not going to matter whether the dollar exists or not. It doesn't matter if we're involved in World War III, Civil War, nuclear war, EMP knocks the grid out. These things are going to happen regardless. And the more that we are becoming self-sufficient, and if we get to a point that there's a collapse and we're forced to be self-sufficient, we are going to be doing things more physical. You're going to be out in the woods more. You're going to be in your gardens more. You're going to be using tools that could injure you more. You're just going to be doing things more, right? And so the possibility of more bad things, more injuries, and then not having a support system, maybe not having 911 or your homeowner's insurance or the state emergency management, agencies that can come in and help with disasters. All those things may not exist or not exist in the full capacity. And so I am telling you from personal experience, as someone that deals with medical emergencies, disasters, natural acts, all that kind of stuff, that you better be planning for those kinds of things too. And in major focus, yes, you are going to need to eat. So food production is got to be one of the number one things that you're focused on. Food production and storage, preservation of food, that kind of stuff. Defending yourself is a big deal. It's important. I can't guarantee that we'll be in a situation that is kind of that, SHTF, all hands on deck, we're in a fight for our life situation. It's very possible, could be very likely. I can't guarantee that though. But I can promise you that you or people around you will become injured, ill. There will be disasters happen. Your house may get struck by lightning. The woods may catch on fire around you. There may be a windstorm that blows your roof off. Floods, farming accidents, illnesses, emergency pregnancies, all of these types of things. Those will happen. And if you're not prepared for those things, my honest opinion is I don't even know why you're preparing for the combat gun things. I mean, yes, those are important, but let's be real. If you can't handle the real emergencies that absolutely will happen and that happen now and that will continue to happen and probably in greater number and greater intensity, then why are we focused so much on things that may or may not happen? Yes, absolutely. I'm a big firearms advocate. I am a big, defense training tactical advocate. But I'm also big on emergencies and disasters, and we have to prepare for those kind of things. That's why I started this organization. We're a nonprofit, and we serve in the county that we live in and surrounding counties. If you feel led to help support us, because we're all donation, we don't get any tax dollars or anything, but we are very active. There'll be a link that you can help us out if you feel led to. If not, if you're not able to and you want to put your money locally where you're at, that's great. Do that, please. But there's some out there that might be able to help. But I'm telling you, folks, this is something that we have to do. You need to be taking some good first aid class, all encompassing, what I would almost consider holistic, not necessarily holistic as just a natural sense, but holistic, a whole complete first aid. In fact, if you are able to take an EMT course, emergency medical technician course, if you're able to take an EMT course, those usually typically last 3 to 4 months. You may go a couple of evenings a week for 3 or 4 months. If you can dedicate that and spend the money, maybe $1,000, $1,500, I would absolutely do that. Because even though as an EMT, you're kind of at the lower level of medicine, you still get a really good grasp of what's going on with the human body and how to take care of things. It's way better than just to stop the bleed or basic first aid or anything like that. So I always advocate, even if you're never going to become an EMT, you don't have to go on and apply for the license if you don't want to do that. Just have the training. Have a good, robust medical supply. Not just a first aid kit, but a full, robust medical supply, something that an EMT, an ambulance, something like that would carry. I understand they carry equipment that costs tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that I have shared with you on this channel and over on the locals channel many times. Items that are very reasonably priced that anyone can own, and it's very simple to learn how to use them, and they can save a life. You need to have your own supply of these things. It's kind of like food. We talk about, you should have a year's supply of food or a 2-year supply of food. Why is that? Why not just a day or two? Well, because after a day or two, you're going to get hungry again, right? And you need food for the next day and the next day and the next day. And you want to have a good supply. It should be the same thing when it comes to medical, whether it's first aid, bandaging, trauma medical, or illness medical related. If you just have enough to take care of you for one injury or a couple of injuries or illnesses, that's not enough. I mean, do you think over a period of, say, 2 years, if you're prepping for at least a 2-year kind of lockdown, real bad situation, which would indicate if you're trying to have a 2-year food supply, which is kind of the big standard in prepping. So if you're trying to make a 2-year food supply, then you should have a 2 years worth of medical supplies. How many bandages could you possibly use in 2 years? How many times might you need a tourniquet or, some type of breathing device or burn creams or burn pads or all the other things that could happen? How many times might you sprain or break a limb, not just you, but the people around you? And so you need to have a supply of this kind of stuff. It's actually not terribly expensive. In fact, it's cheaper than a 2-year food supply by a long shot. Way cheaper. And I talk about this more over on Locals. If you reach out to me specifically, because I'm not going to go over all the details in a video because that'd be too long, but I have lists and stuff that I've made up that we use on our team that I'd be happy to send to you to give you a better idea of the types of things that you should be looking for. But folks, this is serious. And it's serious because it is something that happens all the time. It's not just unique to where I live. Some of you watching work in kind of the emergency medical field. I know there's a lot of firefighters, there's a lot of EMTs and paramedics and nurses that watch my videos. And so you can back me up. But for the rest of you that aren't, wherever you live, these kinds of things happen. They may happen sometimes more and sometimes less. It's a cycle. We may have a weekend that's really slow and nothing too big is happening. Then we may have a weekend like this last one where it's just constant, nonstop running. And that's the same way it is everywhere. And then the bigger populated areas, it's just busy all the time. But the fact is that tragedies, disasters, emergencies, accidents, these things happen. And if you're not prepared for them, then you're really just not prepared. And if you're not prepared for them to happen more often, because as we become more self-sufficient, as we're more into survival mode, then the odds are that we're going to have more disasters and more injuries. And if you're not prepared for that, well, then you're really not prepared, because this is a very serious area. I mean, think about it. You've got 2 years food supply. You've got 10,000 rounds of ammo. You've got several guns, and you know how to use them, and you're really good. And then a week in, you fall and you break your leg, and you can't do anything. These kinds of things can happen, and you need to be prepared for them. You need to acquire the knowledge of medical and disaster and all of the things surrounding that, of what to do. What do you do when someone in your tribe, their house caves in, the wind blows their roof off or blows their house down? Do you know how to safely go in and try to rescue them out of that house? Or some other accident that they may be involved in that has nothing to do with SHTF. It just happens during an SHTF, and it's all on you to take care of them, to save them. You need to be prepared for this kind of stuff, because unless I'm wrong, and I very well could be, but I don't believe that I am, I think this kind of stuff will affect people a whole lot more as things collapse than what has been portrayed many times in Hollywood films and TV and online videos. This is something that people just miss. I don't know, maybe it's not as glamorous, it's not as fun, as cool, I don't know. But you need to be prepared for it, because it happens now, and I guarantee it will happen in the future. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.